Hey everybody, I'm Andres,
I'm Scott.
And I'm Abe.
and this is Between Two Stands, a classical musicians podcast about classical music. And today we have our incoming pops conductor, Enrico Lopez Yanez, joining us.
That's true. And I've got a fever.
More cowbell?
It's disco
Oh,
fever.
disco fever.
Nice. Bravo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Enrico's going to be conducting our Disco Fever concert coming up, and it sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun.
Looking forward to it. Yeah. And before that, we have, just to get us in the pops mood, we have a game which our producer, Natalie, is going to throw at us. Right,
Natalie, our hero.
Yeah.
Now, I will have to mention that we're doing this because you did such a wonderful job.
Yeah.
But Natalie's helping us out. We'll
Yes.
make this game work.
So the rules are Natalie's going to play us a soundtrack of a movie, and we get 1 point if we get the name of the movie, and an additional point if we get the composer.
All right.
Love it. Are you excited you get to play?
I'm very excited.
All right.
Can't you tell?
Honestly, yes.
Here's number one.
Oh, I know. Wait, Edward Scissorhands. No?
Yeah. Who wrote it?
Oh, Danny Elfman.
There you go.
Woo!
Whoa.
Yeah. Dude.
Oh, I'm glad I'm playing now,
go-
baby.
I'm going to cut in
Let's
next
go.
time. If you have a pause
Shout
like
it.
that, I'm going in.
Just shout it. Okay.
That is being.
You guys ready for number two?
Yeah.
Okay. I think this one's going to be hard, but we'll see.
Is this like Love Actually or something? No.
You get -5. I didn't tell you
You know
that.
that's a Christmas movie.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah.
is this Encanto?
No.
Oh, am I close?
Would you like a hint?
Yeah.
It is Hans Zimmer.
Oh, God.
Dune.
Gladiator.
I don't know. I don't know.
It's actually The Holiday.
Oh, so you were
okay.
closer
That was
than you
close.
thought.
Yeah. Nice.
A
Wow.
little credit here.
Jack
hoping
Black
you-
and yeah,
About
Jude
a movie
Law.
composer.
Jude Law.
That's, yeah.
Damn. That was a good one. That was a good one.
Man, I think I've only seen that once.
I did too. A long time ago.
It was good,
Yeah.
though. All right.
Um,
All right, so no points awarded.
Kick 'em while he's down.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Now you're down?
Yeah.
Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, here's number three.
It does sound very battly, you know.
It's not Spartacus. Really. No. Okay.
The hint is 1960.
Ugh. Ben Hur? I have no idea.
The other hint is Charlton Heston.
Ten Commandments.
Ten Commandments. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Who wrote it?
I don't know. I'll guess Elmer Bernstein.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Nice.
Nice, man. Very nice.
That's 2 points.
Wow.
Tied.
Wow,
Tied.
that was good. That was
Yeah.
good.
Elmer Bernstein, Cecil B. DeMille's The Ten Commandments, 1960. The tiebreaker. This one's.
Here we are.
The hint is that it's wonderful. It's stupid and wonderful, but I love it.
Awesome.
Oh. And get those middies.
It's gonna be like not Harry Potter.
No, no way.
What, Percy Jackson?
Yeah, Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Yeah.
If we got it.
I just saw a clip of Uma Thurman as Medusa.
Oh yeah, I saw that clip.
I have absolutely no idea.
Are we on the right track?
Yeah. It's
Is it
Oh, it's gotta
Twilight?
be. Yeah.
It is Twilight.
Wow.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Who wrote it?
I have no idea.
Carter Burwell.
Oh,
There you
of
go.
course.
Tiebreaker. Nice job,
Scott won.
Yeah.
Scott
I
won.
am the winner.
Twilight was a movie? Isn't it a show? No? Isn't that a vampire movie?
You are the best.
I haven't watched movies in a while.
So that's it. I am the
Yeah,
winner.
he's the winner.
And thank you for watching.
Yeah. And here's our interview with Enrico.
Thanks for coming, Enrico. Nice to have you here.
It's great to be with you guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining. We always ask the same first question of every guest on the show, and that question is, what is on your stand? Or what are you currently working on?
So right now, well, what is literally next to me right now is the score to E.T., which I have coming up in Nashville. So that is currently
With the
literally
movie?
in front of me. The movie, yeah. So the full movie in concert. But I'm currently, this weekend, I'm in Florida with the Florida Orchestra. We're doing the disco show, which is coming to Detroit in just a couple weeks.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
So that is also on my stand. And then at home, my stand has the music for the Ben Rector and Cody Fry show, which I'm doing next week at the Pacific Symphony, but then we do in Detroit later on this summer as well.
Amazing.
So, I mean, so you're in Florida preparing for Nashville movies, but you're in Florida doing disco, and then you... This is
It's
crazy.
the life of a pops conductor. That's what we do. We have many balls juggled in the air at the same time. But it's very similar to you guys. I mean, you probably have, you have at least 2 weeks of music that the library has given you, and maybe more depending on the shows. So we're all just juggling tons of books all the time.
Yeah, I never look at the music just the night before. They give
course
it to
not.
us in advance.
So, yeah, speaking of being a pops conductor, I feel like that's a very, obviously it's very different than classical in the sense that you see a wide variety of performers and you do different programs, but you also see a lot of different artists. So I just was curious, which ones kind of stood out to you? You play music of old music or times, but you also do a lot of current music and with current artists. So I was just curious, kind of who's stood out to you in the past that has been a great performer.
Yeah, there have been so many, and so many different genres. I mean, from the Broadway world, like Leslie Odom Jr., Renee Elise Goldsberry, both of whom were from the original Hamilton cast, are outstanding singers, performers, and human beings. Country artists like Trisha Yearwood, I've worked with several times, and she's one of the sweetest and most talented people on the planet. The show that we have coming up with Ben Rector and Cody Fry, both of them are super cool guys. Cody, I think, is one of the most talented kind of up-and-coming arranger composers out there. He's done all the orchestrations for that show and all of his own music. His dad is actually Gary Fry, who's a super well-known arranger that does the Chicago Symphony and Dallas Symphony's Christmas shows every year, does a lot of like choral symphonic arranging. And so Cody has clearly inherited that skill. And then fun things like the rapper Nas and, just like out there stuff that I get to do from time to time too have been really fun and special. And I think the pops thing, one of the high benefits of it is the variety, the amount of different genres of artists, and then also creating my own shows. I mean, when there's a genre that I want to explore more, then I build a show around it. Next year, we're doing a new show with the DSO that I'm finishing writing right now, which is called La Vida Loca. It's all music of Ricky Martin, Enrique Iglesias, Shakira, Celia Cruz, all the big sort of 90s, early 2000s Latin pop stars. So it's fun that I get to explore it all.
Yeah, how do you go about building a show like that? Are you making arrangements on your own, or like how do you go about what's the process?
Yeah, so like the disco show that we're doing in a couple weeks, that's one that I built all on my own. All the charts and arrangements are mine. The La Vida Loca show that I mentioned, that one is a collaboration with the trumpet player from the show we recently did, Latin Fire. Jose Cibaja. So he and I are both sort of splitting the load of that work. So we'll take half the show each and put that together, and then we sort of combine everything at the end and make sure that things kind of work and the arranging styles are close enough that there's consistency to the show and stuff. But we work together to choose the set list and the artists, as well as the guest artists that'll come along with the show. So he's obviously playing trumpet. He's a very talented trumpet player. He toured with Ricky Martin for over a decade and has recorded with all these artists. I mean, he's toured with Mark Anthony and recorded with Gloria Estefan and all of those. And then the show will also feature 2 vocalists. One of them is Jackie Mendez. She used to tour with Ricky as well as a backup vocalist. And Ender Thomas, who is one of Yanni's longtime collaborators, as well as a Latin percussionist named Luis Quintero. And he has recorded on over 60 Grammy Award-winning albums and played with everyone on the planet. So it should be a very fun show.
I was thinking that's when like you were getting older, like when you start seeing pop shows and stuff, that of people that we knew growing up, like Ricky Martin. Now we're creeping into like the 90s, 2000s. We're gonna see like Nirvana pop shows coming up, and it's just like, man, they're starting to target us now. Yeah.
That's right. The grunge pops.
The grunge pops, right? That'd be an interesting crowd. But anyway, so yeah, tell us about like how you got to this point. I know you started on trumpet, but like, how did you get to becoming arranger, composer, conductor from your initial start?
Yeah, well, when I was young, I just loved music, and it was all genres, all styles of music. My dad is an opera singer, and my mom is a pianist, so I had music in my house all the time, and we used to travel around with my dad, so that was the biggest source of sort of musical influence, was being in opera houses. I mean, he sang everywhere from the Met to Opera Australia and Asia, Europe, all over the place. And so that was probably the biggest influence on my early musical life, was hearing all the great Italian operas from Puccini to Verdi. That was sort of his rep. As I grew older, so I studied piano with my mom, and that got old really quick, having my mom be my teacher and yell at me from across the house anytime there were wrong notes being played. And so I wanted to choose something that she knew nothing about, and trumpet seemed really fun.
That's
and
funny.
It was actually one of my grandpa's dreams that I learn the trumpet and play this one particular song in Mexico, which is a famous bullfighting tune. He was like, "This is such a great thing. You should learn this on the trumpet." So I started playing trumpet in 5th grade. And a year later, I started playing drums just for fun. My parents got divorced right around that time, and one of my dad's sort of maybe parting gifts, I guess, for Christmas one year was he bought me a drum set to keep at my mom's house. So that was a lot of fun.
That's good. That's good.
Wow.
That's yeah. You gotta remember that one. I mean, there's no plans yet.
Any news?
So I started playing drums in like rock bands and like oldies groups, and then I'd play trumpet at school in the jazz band and the San Diego Youth Symphony and all the mariachi groups that I could when I was down in Mexico. And so with those 2 instruments, I was kind of able to cover every genre that I wanted to participate in. And that grew to the point where then I went to school for trumpet. I got an undergrad and master's in trumpet before switching to conducting. I never thought pops conducting was the way. I mean, I didn't know pops was a thing. Like when we grew up, it was just classical. We'd go to the young people's concerts or see the operas, and that's what I knew of. If you were pursuing a classical degree, that was your option. And it wasn't until my first job with the Omaha Symphony where I actually saw a pops concert for the first time, and was like, wow, I didn't even know this existed. I didn't know orchestras were doing this. This is really cool. And so that was sort of the first dive into like exposure to the genre. And then from there, when I moved to Nashville, the first pop show I did there was with Kenny Loggins was the first one I did.
They're basically
in
the
Nashville.
same.
Pretty much, yeah. And so that's when I sort of got, I think, the bite of like, wow, this is really cool. I'm really enjoying this. And after 2 years of being the assistant in Nashville, they offered me the position of principal pops conductor, which was a position that had existed previously, but it had been like a decade since anyone at Nashville had that position. So they sort of brought it back again.
Wow.
And that was really a turning point for me in my career of, starting to officially go down that route of pops conducting, and allowed me to explore all the different genres that I loved as a kid playing in, I used to DJ for like high school dances. I used to be in a boy band that was like electronic hip hop with comedy elements. Every type of genre I would perform
We
in.
got to
So
look
this,
that up. What was the name of that band?
I don't know if I should share that one. Then that might come back to bite me.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
So I have to ask, like, with parents, like opera singer, pianist, was branching out doing mariachi, was that like a rebellious act of your youth because I also have musician parents, and like I couldn't name a pop anything even now, but I think part of that is because it just wasn't really what I listened to growing up.
Sure.
So did you have to like rebel in your way by I'm gonna
Classic mariachi.
different genres?
Not really. My dad recorded several mariachi albums himself because that's the music
cool.
he grew up on in Mexico.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
he himself didn't get exposed to classical and specifically opera until he was in his mid-20s. He had studied engineering and gone to school to be a civil engineer like his dad, and loved singing pop music. And one day someone came up to him and they're like, "You have a great voice. You should sing opera." And he's like, "What's opera?" And they gave him a record of Enrico Caruso, which is who I'm named after. He put it on and he was like, "Oh my gosh, how is someone producing this with their natural voice?" And that sort of, late in singer terms, kind of got his interest.
Super
And so
Yeah.
he, when we were growing up, would play, Elton John, Chicago, and, Billy Joel. And my mom loved the music of the 70s and the 80s. And, so that's just what we listened to in the car, despite them being classically trained and that being what they pursued as a career. I think they were very much of the, this is work, classical music, and this is what we do. But the music that we listen to in our spare time to sort of break that up is the mainstream pop genres of their time.
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, so then what music do you listen to in your spare time? Because if you're like exploring all these different genres for shows, do you feel like you're working all the time or what?
Yes, I don't listen to music in my spare time, actually. It's,
White noise.
there's so
just
much
pure
that
white
I'm just
noise.
trying to like digest constantly for the different shows I have coming up, that if I'm in the car with the radio on, it's talk radio. It's like NPR or nothing, just silence to kind of give my brain a rest.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it feels like sensory overload, and it goes like probably you have when you are playing or listening to someone else. You start down that analysis route,
Yes.
and you're like,
Right.
"Ooh, I wouldn't have done that. Ooh, that what's And my girlfriend hates it. Like I play stuff. She'll turn on the radio and I'm like, "Oh man, why did they do?" And she's like, "Can you just listen and enjoy it? Why do you have to be always in?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "I can't help it.
can't
That's
turn it
my
off.
job. That's what I do."
I can't just listen and enjoy it. No. Yeah, and I think maybe the oboes could do that line if I were arranging this. That would
Yeah.
probably be
Right.
okay.
So speaking of that, so you're on the road constantly. You have so much music that you're learning that's in your head that you have to look forward to, in the future. How do you kind of stay inspired and stay current with your arranging and composing? I know you compose as well. Unique, never played stuff. So how do you stay current and inspired?
So that's the one type of listening that I do actually, which is work related. So I constantly ask people for like, what are their favorite current artists? What are the kinds of music that you're listening to? And I'll check out like the top 40s and kind of go down rabbit holes of that to be able to be current and thinking about what kind of artists would make sense to collaborate with an orchestra. Because if I'm not connected to it, then I'm just at the kind of behest of whatever the artistic programmer at whatever orchestra is saying, like, "Oh, we should do a show with this person." I'm like, "Okay, great. Never heard of them."
Yeah.
So I do try, and when I hear the name of an artist, if someone's like, "Oh my gosh, have you heard this song?" I immediately go and like follow them on either Apple or Spotify. And then in my free time, I'll listen through and be like, "Yes, this would make sense for orchestra. No, not so much." And that's one of the ways I try and stay current. In terms of the arranging aspect, on the pop side of things, you get so many different arranger's music in front of you from week to week, because everyone's charts are made by different people, that's kind of the way that I stay current and kind of grow in terms of an arranger, I'd say, is just the exposure to so many different people's choices and how they are writing and different ways that they're orchestrating in unique manners. And sometimes when I'm building my own shows, I'll commission some of the charts out to other people too, depending on the workload. And that's always really fun, is to know who are my favorite arrangers that are out there right now and seeing what they do with songs that I've chosen and comparing like, oh, I wouldn't have done that. That's really cool. I like how they made that choice to change the style in this way.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And you do like your compositions as well, right?
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
So like how does that fit in?
The composing is, I mean, that for me is just like a fun extra thing when there's time. Most of the writing I'm doing right now is based around like specific projects or commissions when those come up. So when I have a moment, which is not quite as often as I'd like, to be like, I'd really like to do either an arrangement of this random piece or like some original fanfare or, some kind of mashup thing, or like the Star Wars show that we have early on next season on the Pop series. There's a small piece at the end of the first act. It's the only non-actual Star Wars piece on the program, and it's called the Hebrides Shuffle. And so what I did is take sort of inspiration from the Cantina Band music of John Williams, but I took the Hebrides Overture by Mendelssohn and turned it into a Cantina Band arrangement.
That's amazing.
Cool.
As a little way to, one, avoid having to hire saxophones on the program, because that's the only piece you would have to hire saxes on.
Right, nice.
And so I just made like a swing
You're very
version of the
thoughtful.
Hebrides.
Yeah.
So it's like ba-da-ba-da-ba-dum, ba-da-ba-da-ba-dum,
Yeah.
da-da-ba-da-ba. So it's a
Yeah.
little like Cantina Band version
Very
of
cool.
the Hebrides Overture.
Very, very cool. That's a good idea. That's awesome.
Can you give us a rundown of the disco show?
Yeah.
What are we in for?
So it covers all the
Disco.
biggest hits of the 70s. I mean, there's Donna Summer, Gloria Gaynor, the Bee Gees, Casey and the Sunshine Band, and pretty much all the big hits. So you get Car Wash or Hot Stuff, Bad Boys. You get I Will Survive. You get, all the Saturday Night Fever, hits. And there's some sort of special surprise elements. Like we're going to have an on-stage dance competition for some audience members. So we'll bring out
that's amazing.
volunteers for a little dance-off.
I love, from the musician's perspective, I love that because, like, first of all, it makes every show different because, like, everyone's going to do something hilarious. But
Right.
it's just funny. It's entertaining for us. So, yeah, I love that.
Absolutely. And then there's two incredible lead vocalists that come with the show. So Maya Sykes, she was on The Voice, and then she went on to be in La La Land, and she's done a bunch of like the Postmodern Jukebox videos on YouTube with them. And then B. Slade, who he's won 2 Emmys, 4 Grammy nominations, and both of them are just two of the most high energy and vocally talented people I've worked with. And everywhere we go, it doesn't matter if it's like a small crowd or a huge crowd, people are on their feet dancing, having a great
that's
time,
awesome.
because they're like
That's awesome.
the best hype people / performers for this genre. So it's a really fun show. I think it'll be a good time.
This is awesome. This is one of the experiences at Orchestra Hall that people might not expect to be able to have, and
Right.
we'll often have like very interesting reactions. And I was curious because you've done so many of these shows in so many different places. Has there ever been like an audience reaction that's just stood out to you as like one of your favorites?
Oh, wow. That's a tough question. I mean, I'm surprised almost by something at every show, which is really fun. Whether it's, some artists will get the audience to pull out their cell phones and turn on their lights, and then, for the slow jam, they kind of go. And that as a performer is such a fun thing to look out on and see. And that's, I feel like, the closest we
That
get to
just
feel to being
happened.
rock stars.
That just happened this last pop show we did.
Dvorak New World Symphony?
Yeah, exactly. the whole time. No, yeah, but that was the first time I saw that happen in orchestra hall, and it was very. I actually ended up sneaking a picture from on stage because I had never seen
Yeah.
that in Orchestra Hall. It was really cool. It was the Jeff Tysick, the last Jeff Tysick one, the 80s.
The 80s, yeah.
anthem. So like, you know, that goes with the territory, you know.
Yeah, there you go.
Very cool.
Yeah. I mean, so stuff like that. I mean, of course, obviously, as soon as you bring people up on stage, that's where you're opening the door to all kinds of things. I mean, I love bringing, especially kids up on stage, because then it's just
Anything
free for
goes.
all as to what's going to happen. And, you know, it's like the kids say the darndest things. And so I love to throw a mic on a kid because then they're also going to react in incredibly unexpected ways.
Yeah.
And that's a really fun thing for me, too.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, so
Which is still
so
the fewest
pops.
out
I
of
feel like
everybody
pops is a
playing.
very you know, it's a lot of genres, but movies you see a lot of, especially now you see a lot of movie score pops or concerts that play along with movies. So what is one of your favorite movie scores that you've heard?
Man, I mean, everything John Williams has ever written is brilliant and amazing.
Yeah.
But I feel like that'd be a cop out to choose any of his movies because that's kind of like everybody's favorites. So
Yeah.
what I will say is that right after John Williams, I love Michael Giacchino's music and his film scores. The two that stand out maybe the most of his, one is Coco, just because of how close to, you know, all the music I grew up with and all of that. And it's just so cleverly written, and the combination of traditional Mexican music in the way he sort of modernized and orchestrated it is really brilliant, as well as Ratatouille. I think he's one of my favorite composers that just like diving into building a new like sound world, and the way he again combined like French traditional music and things that you'd expect from walking into a French cafe and then turning that into this full film score.
You know, I recorded one of his soundtracks, and the way he writes for the instruments is also like just really spectacular. And the arranger that he uses, and like, you know, they have teams.
It was Giacchino, and just that opening, that everyone talks about that opening, but like
the music alone makes you cry.
Now I listen to that without the movie, and it's very like it makes you very sad because you think it immediately makes you think of those first 3 minutes of the movie, you know.
Exactly.
Evocative.
I should have known.
Yeah.
So that's really, I mean, you know, obviously they're like Star Wars and Indiana Jones, you hear the first few notes and you're transported to that film. But what I love about Giacchino stuff is that you hear this whole score and you're transported to a place. It's not just a film, but you are in Mexico, you are in Paris, you are in, you know, all these different places that he kind of builds as a sound world. So it's very clear to me that he's doing deep dives into all the different
culture,
you know, worlds that he's trying to portray through, whether it's the Pixar films or, I mean, he did Star Trek. He's done Star Wars. I mean, he's one of the only composers that has worked on a Star Wars project that isn't John Williams because of Rogue One and things like that. And he, you know, to be tasked with like, okay, John Williams has done all the Star Wars movies. Now you go ahead and like pick up on that. Like that can't be an easy task to have to do, you know. And I thought he did a great job. It's really, really impressive.
I wanted to ask you, just as a composer, arranger, I always found it interesting how music has evolved in movies from like, you know, the early, you know, 40s, 50s, where it almost felt like operatic to now, you know. How do you think it's changed? How has it changed that you noticed?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly grown in terms of our expectations of where music, I think, holds a place in film from the early film scores. You know, a lot of times it was just popular music that was being included or things like that. But there are so many of the great film composers from like Korngold and Mancini and like early people that were really expanding upon this sort of classical orchestration styles and classical influences into their film scores to make things like, you know, these swashbuckling pirate films and things like that. And I feel like John Williams has certainly carried on that legacy, taking inspiration, as we obviously notice, from composers like Holst or you know, other main classical people. and that continues to evolve and in different ways. Some people really go down that route, and Michael Giacchino is one who is very much, I think, writing with classical music and training in mind. And then you get other composers like Ludwig Göransson, who's done Black Panther, The Mandalorian, things like that, which is much more about sort of electronic instruments fused with orchestra and the ways in which those overlap, as well as taking sort of external elements and instrumentations. I mean, Black Panther has this incredible feature of a talking drum performer, and that sort of evokes this completely different world by including that. Or The Mandalorian, as soon as you hear those like pan flutey kind of things, you're like, whoa, where is this? It's like a classic Western, but with a different twist on it and stuff.
Yeah.
So people do really unique things, I think, nowadays to kind of create this whole different world.
Yeah. I was also thinking like that I just watched There Will Be Blood. And I forgot he's in the composer's in a rock band that I'm blanking on, but that was such a unique score because there was almost like no melody. It was just sounds and it created a lot of tension, which is like almost the opposite of the older composers,
About like the Dune.
Right.
The Dune movies, that's Zimmer, right? I think.
Yeah.
I now question everything that I've ever known. But it's very much like just sound. It's not like a tune that you're gonna walk out of the movie whistling.
Right.
But it
has
sounds
effect,
like the movie, and
Right.
it really is. It's dramatic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Enrico, we really appreciate you taking the time. Honestly, like we're so excited to have you. Every concert you've done has been like just high energy and like it's been entertaining for us. So we're just so excited to have you.
We can't wait to see your dance moves at disco.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
You definitely will.
Yeah. Awesome,
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
for joining
Enrico.
us.
Thanks for your
Appreciate
time.
it. It's great to see you guys. Looking forward to seeing you in a couple weeks and all of next season as well.
Yeah.